Buoyant on the coast. It was right out here somewhere.
Back from the top.
Okay.
Your name and your rank and your MOS.
My name is Roger Boyd. I was corporal, and my MOS, I believe, was 6112.
Which is?
Helicopter mechanic. Just a basic mechanic.
When did you enlist in the Corps?
I joined the Marine Corps in December 6, 1967. Stayed in for 10 years, left as a staff sergeant after 10 years.
What made you want to join the Corps?
Well, it was just, I'm from the era where all the fathers and everybody else was in World War II. Then there was Korea, and the next generation fought in Korea. It was just expected that we all did that. At that time, there weren't a lot of protesters. Most everybody that was drafted went. And I just always wanted to be a Marine. I thought they were the best. I still do. And I was proud to have been able to be one.
How old were you when you joined?
18.
So fresh out of high school?
Yeah, pretty much.
I was fresh out of high school.
I was pretty much fresh out of school. I didn't graduate high school. I was kicked out senior skip day. And got my GED in Da Nang. Proud of that.
What's your mom and dad say about you joining?
Very upset. Very. My parents were very angry that I joined the Marine Corps. They would have preferred me to go into the Navy or the Air Force or any place but the Marine Corps. And my father had said, all they're going to do is give you a rifle and you're going to get killed. But they got over it. And actually, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I called my folks up and I talked to my dad and I said, yeah, Dad, I think I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps. Oh, that's the craziest thing you ever did. When I joined the Marine Corps, he said, that's the craziest thing you've ever done. Same thing when I got out. And I thought, I can't win with this guy.
Did you have any other MOS slots that you would like to add?
No. No, that's the only MOS slot that I wanted to do. I joined the Marine Corps to be a helicopter machine gunner. That was my motivation to be on a helicopter. Watching the news reels at the time, that looked like a job that I would have liked to have done. And I was very fortunate to have had the opportunity to do it.
What were your favorite songs during the war?
My favorite songs during the war. Oh, I don't. Inagata Davida was pretty good. Sky Pilot. I remember flying a night medevac or whatever and listening to the Sky Pilot. Just burning holes in the sky and over Vietnam, thinking this is appropriate.
So, what beauties, what women did you like during the war?
Oh, what women did I like during the war? As far as American, Vietnamese.
Anything you want to say, as long as it's not classified still.
Oh no, there's nothing classified. We had a little soda mess that somebody had built there at the Squadron, and there was a little Vietnamese gal there that sold pop and sandwiches. Cute, just as cute as can be, and I kind of had a crush on her. And every day I'd come back from flying, I'd go in there and get a can of pop or a sandwich, and she'd always say, "Where do you go today, Roger?" She had family in the States too. She had a sister in the States, and she always wanted to know. And I'm sure she asked everybody the same question, because ultimately, if they found out, they frisked her one night when she was leaving, or searched her and found a map of where the aircraft were parked in the revetments for the mortar crews to, I suppose, hit the place. It's about the only crush I remember having.
Vietnamese Matahari.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Okay. And so how long were you on active duty?
I was on active duty for 10 years.
How about reserves?
I did a about 2 years in the reserves, 2 or 2.5. I later in life, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I joined, out of spite more than anything, I joined the Navy Reserve as a Navy corpsman. I was a paramedic at the time, so they took me back in as an E5. And I got out of the Marine Corps when I was 28. I was probably 38, 39, maybe 40 at this time. And I thought, geez, it's extra money. Maybe I can do 10 years and get a pension out of this. I was there about 2 years, and a Desert Storm happened. And I was going to be activated. They told me to make a will. Had to go see the personnel manager of the city. They're going to take me off the insurance, stop my pay, and I'm thinking, oh, what have I done here? And there's another fireman that was there with me that had joined the Navy Reserve with me. As soon as this happened, he bailed out, quit. And my wife kept saying to me, Stan left, why can't you leave? And I said, Diane, I have to look at myself in the mirror every morning. I can't do it. But as soon as that war was resolved, I walked out of that place. I was done. But I stuck it through till, and if I had gotten activated, I'd have taken my lumps. But after that was done, I thought, by golly, if it could happen once, I bet it could happen twice. So I retired for good then.
And you separated at what rank then?
With the Naval Reserve, I was an E5. Out of the Marine Corps, I was a staff sergeant, E6.
What were your favorite bars around the base or in country?
My favorite bars around the base, as a E3, E4 in the United States Marine Corps on a base, there was only one, and that was the Enlisted Men's Club. And I was fortunate to live right behind it. So it was a very short walk through the sand to go to the club. The only other bar that I was ever in, and I think I was only there once, was there was a small detachment of Korean Air Force folks there. They had 2 little Piper Cubs, or 2 small aircraft, and they were stationed beside us, and they had their own little Enlisted Men's Club, and we'd go over there and drink some Korean beer once in a while. That was it.
What are your best R&R memories?
My best R&R memories. I went to Hawaii. Probably not the wisest choice. I met my fiancée there. Had a pretty good time. Just being out of country, I guess, just being civilized for 10 days. The day before I went on R&R, I had a mission that I was supposed to have flown, and I'd asked a friend of mine to fly it for me so I could pack and leave the next morning to go to Hawaii, and that aircraft crashed with everybody. So it was a kind of a traumatic time to be on R&R and thinking that this buddy of mine didn't make it because I'd asked him to fly in my place.
Is that the one that was taking the recon credit?
No, that was a different one. So R&R was just a good escape. Good timing, I guess.
Have you gone back to Hawaii to check it out since then?
No, I have not gone back to Hawaii. I plan on it. Actually, I'd like to go back to Vietnam. It's just it's pricey to fly over there.
Well, got any stories of the best of times or the worst of times?
I got a lot of worst of time stories. I don't have a lot of best of time stories.
Well, sling them if you want to.
I guess the only missions that a person remembers, or that I remember, are the ones that were bad, that were significant because they were just significantly bad. When I first got over there, the first month I didn't fly. I was just being indoctrinated, and after that I flew as a gunner, I think for 2 months before I qualified as a crew chief. And it was exciting, it was fun. We had 50 caliber machine guns, and it was just an incredible weapon. You could be so frightened when you were going into a zone, but when you started shooting that thing, your fear left. You had a mission, you had to go, and you were concentrating on aiming, and it just had such a slow cyclic rate of fire. Incredible weapon. But I was flying as a gunner in a place called Arizona Territory for a night recon extract. I was the left gunner. Have no idea who the pilots were. The crew chief was a fellow by the name of Lambertson. And the other gunner was a guy by the name of, I don't want to say his name. The other gunner, it really wasn't his fault. It was his first mission, never flown before in his life. Sent on a night recon extract with contact. There was one guy down there that was shot, and they were just in a big flat area. The Arizona territory was pretty flat. Gunships were working, and we're circling above this zone. We've got a DC-3 above us, kicking out flares, and the flares are going off around us, and I kept thinking they were going to take us out. It's just scary even being over the zone. Anyway, the recon team was running, trying to get away from the gooks. They finally got to a position where they thought we could come in, and the recon guy turned on the strobe light. The right gunner thought it was fire. Returned fire at the strobe light. Killed, knocked off one guy's head, chopped off his head, and shot off another guy's foot. Actually, I think it was a 7-man team. There was one guy not injured, one guy killed by us, one guy wounded by the enemy, and the other 4 were wounded by the Cobra gunships, is what my memory is of this mission. Anyway, the right gunner shot these guys up. We got down there, and these guys are all being carried and drug on. And I look out, and there's a guy laying out there. Flares are all over. I mean, it was daylight, as light as this room. And I told the pilot, I said, "Sir, there's a guy out there." And he said, "Go get him." And I asked him to repeat, "Go get him." And I remember saying, "Don't leave me." And I took off running, forgot to hook my cord, pulled my head back, ran out there, and it was just a very large Marine. Had his head shut off. There was just about this much of his chin was left. I remember that. Trying to drag this man through this stuff. There's equipment everywhere. Dragging this guy up there. There's a large bush. And I stumbled into that bush. This guy was on top of me. I thought they had me. I thought I was captured. I mean, it was the most frightening time I think I ever had over there. And the crew chief came out then and helped me drag this guy on, and we got out of there. That was a bad one. And the poor guy, he'd never flown before. He shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been put in that position for his first time out. And he never flew again. That was his one and only mission, and he was done with it. Another one I had, flying as a gunner with the fellow by the name, the crew chief's name was Mike Clausen, Medal of Honor winner. Well, excuse me, let me back up. It was two missions I flew in this one mission. Going in for a recon extract, and I was flying as a tail gunner. On occasion, they'd put a guy on the tailboard with a gunner's belt locked into the deck. Put this belt around you, you hang your feet out over the end of the ramp. You got an ammo can here and an M60, and you're just going to hose the zone as you come out. I only did it twice, and it was both times that same day. Anyway, the crew chief, Mike Shambo was his name, had these guys hooked up to I can't think of what it's called. It's a line that's attached.
Spy rig.
Spy rig, thank you. Hooking them up to this, got them all hooked up, and the crew chief's, and I'm facing aft, looking out the back of the aircraft, and the crew chief's saying, "Go up, go up, go up. You're not high enough. Go up, go up." The pilot never went high enough. Run these guys through the trees. Hit them with such force that it knocked 2 guys right off this rig. And I mean, this thing is heavy, heavy braided nylon straps. Busted 2 of them off. I didn't know this at the time. I'm hosing the zone coming out. And I'm thinking, oh God, I killed these guys. Never touched them, as it turns out. So we go back, took them to Charlie Med, and the only guy standing, it was a pile of bodies. I remember that. And I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they survived or not. But the only guy standing was the top guy on that rig, and he just stood there and fingered us. And I'm thinking, Jesus, you have so much control, because I just shot us. And that's all that he did. And we dropped them, went back and got another aircraft, and Mike Clausen was the crew chief. I have no idea who the pilots are or the gunners. And I flew as a tail gunner again, and went back, and by God, we found those 2 guys. And they were alive, beat to hell, but they were alive in a bomb crater, and we went down and pulled them out of there. That was a crappy mission. Then I had, as another recon, actually I've got more confirmed Marine recon kills than enemy kills in my flights. this recon mission, I was as a crew chief, and it was a recon extract, emergency medical extract. On this aircraft, I had a boom type, it was a boom hoist, where the crew door was on the side of the airplane. This thing was mounted to the floor. It had a boom that tilted out. Instead of going through the hellhole through the center of the aircraft, we had this thing, and I don't know why it did, but it was a nice thing. But anyway, I had 2 wounded guys down there. We couldn't land. It was about a 60-foot hover that the pilot was in. And bring up the first guy that was shot in the leg, got him on board, pulled over to the side, set down the rig again. I'm bringing up the second guy, and I'm past the halfway point. The cable had slipped off the last pulley of the arm, and it's starting to shear itself. And I made the decision that I was closer to the aircraft. It was a split-second decision. It was the wrong decision. Closer to the aircraft, I'm going to try and get him in here and grab him. I probably didn't go 10 more feet, and the thing snapped. He fell. I would say 40 foot. Had my helmet on with the headset. The radios were turned on. I told the pilot, I said, "We dropped him, sir." And he radioed the recon team. And I know this for a fact. The recon team said, "We got him. Get us out of here." We kicked out a ladder that was attached to the tailboard, the tail ramp there. It's just a big aluminum ladder, and it was a roll. And he would push this thing out. It would unroll, and these guys would climb on it and hook on with their harnesses, and then he'd lift them out. We did this uneventfully. Took them back to Anwa, and the first words they said is, "Where's our lieutenant?" We left our lieutenant back there. So we went back to Da Nang, Marble Mountain, got another aircraft, and went back with a recon team to try and recover this guy. It was night. I remember we took like an RPG going into this area. It was just a crappy area of the country, and it was not a place you wanted to be. Went in there, setting the guy down. I had him almost onto the deck over this LZ. We found a place near there to sit down, and the pilot says, "I'm going vertigo, bring him in." He pulled as much torque as he could pull, taking that aircraft out of there. We're spiraling out, going up and out. And I had the guy in. I'm guiding the cable in. He's coming in through the hellhole. I had him about this far into the aircraft. Cable broke. Dropped 2 guys that day. And one was lieutenant. The second guy, I guess, was a captain. The next day, they went back to try to recover him. They never did. I found out about a year ago that the first guy lived, and the Viet Cong executed him. I'm sure he was, he'd already been shot once, then falling. He was in bad shape, but they executed him. Second guy was never found, to my knowledge. The next day, they went in to try again to recover these fellas, and I was scheduled to fly. And for some reason, I got bumped off the mission, and or maybe, I don't know, I don't remember what happened, but another guy was flying my aircraft, crewing it, and he took a round in the ankle. And after that, they stopped looking for those guys. Trying to think, there's one time coming out of Anwa, a pretty good sized base, just had taken off there. Was standing at the door. I had an M1 carbine, or an M2 carbine. I had a little .30 caliber carbine with a pistol grip, and it was the cutest little rifle you ever saw. But it was a piece of shit. It would jam constantly. It would jam. And coming out of there, we weren't probably 200 foot above the deck. We'd just taken off, and I'm looking out, and there's 2 guys and a gal in front of this hut in this little village, and they all 3 grabbed their weapons and started shooting, and they knocked us down. They only hit us one time, but that round went about a foot above the opening that I was standing in. It was probably 2 or 3 foot above my head, into 2 wire looms. Knocked out all of our AC/DC power, and fortunate for us, the pilot turned around and just set it right back down on base. I still have that bullet. I carry it on my keychain, and I'll carry it with me till the day I die, I'm sure. But it's the only second to the only relic I've got from there. I've got a coin that I took off of a dead Viet Cong. That we were coming in to pull out a recon team, and this fella had charged his team. It was a huge flat top mountain. They were on one side, and this guy, I think he was just tired. He had a knife and a Chi-Com grenade, and he ran all the way across this flat mountaintop to attack this Marine recon team, and they blew him to pieces. So they dragged his body on with them, and we wanted to throw him out to watch him fall, and the pilots wouldn't let us do that. But so anyway, we were going through his pockets, and I got a coin, and I still carry that coin today too. The only other, there isn't many other missions that I remember.
I do like the 14 or the M16, the AK-47. You ever shooting the comm block like some of the Kalashnikovs or any other stuff?
Shot an SKS, not an AK. I had an AK-47 that I'd picked up over there. Yeah, they were surprisingly, they were a piece of shit, but they were a piece of shit that worked pretty consistently, and they could take a lot of abuse and still work. The M16, I thought it was a great rifle. The M14, an even better rifle, just too heavy. But as far as knockdown power and the ability to shoot something from at a long distance, the M16 was, kind of made by Mattel. That was the mindset of the time. It was just the plastic stock, but it was a pretty neat rifle. I know there's some other missions that I'd taken fire and taken hits, but none that really stand out, I guess. There's something I was going to tell you about that. Oh, that carbine that I had, that 30 caliber carbine, one time I was taking out a bunch of gunners to be certified as machine gunners. The armor would take them out, we'd fly over the ocean, throw out an ammo box, a big wooden ammo box, and they'd shoot it up with a 50. So they're shooting that stuff, and I'm dinking around with this 30 caliber carbine. It's a pistol grip, and it's about this long, got banana clips, sharp. It was pretty sharp. And I've got it out the door there, and I'm shooting this thing offhand, just like a pistol, semi-automatic. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of boring. Flipped the selector to full automatic, and by golly, it went right up through a rotor blade. Hit the main spar of a rotor blade. And I thought for sure my days of flying were done right then and there. There was another time at Anwa where I thought I was going to be done flying. I had an AK-47 that I sold to some sailors, squids. Sold it to some squids for 3/5 of Fleshman's whiskey. And 3/5 of Fleshman's whiskey and a bottle of rice wine from Hanoi. Now, where the hell this kid had got that, I don't know, but he traded me that for this AK. And I had all this booze in my cruise box. I was at Anwa for an overnighter and run into a guy I knew. So we popped the top. And I just got drunker than 10 Indians that day. And by golly, here come the pilot. And he had me standing at attention and just chewing my ass for 10 minutes solid, and he was going to pull my wings, and he was going to do this and do that, and I thought, well, you can't really do that. The wings were a decoration. It wasn't a ranked thing. It was a decoration. It was an award. But I thought, boy, he can do everything else. He could make me wish he could pull those wings. And I give him a lot of credit, a lot of personal fortitude, because he took me in and he filled me full of coffee and sobered my young ass up, and we went out and flew the mission that day, and I didn't do that again. I guess that's not a lot more I could think of. Such a long time ago. 40 years ago, but it stays with you a long time.
What was it like the first time you took off? The very first time that you were in a slick?
First time I flew in a helicopter was at Santa Ana, and it was just, it was incredible. It was incredible. It was just, it was an experience. I can't imagine being a pilot of one, but sitting in the back was impressive. I enjoyed it very much. The thing I remember too about coming back after the war, in Vietnam, you had no windows. You know, all the plexiglass windows were taken out in the cruise section. So the grunts, if you were taking fire, they could stick their weapons out and return fire. And so you could stick your head out and clear the tail rotor. So the pilot couldn't see back behind him very well. And so many of the zones were very tight. And many times we were clipping trees going in. But you'd always have your head stuck out that window to make sure that we were clear of any obstacles so we could get in there safely and get out. And I remember being at Santa Ana, and I had a kid flying with me. The young trainees were called first mechanics, first mechs, we called them. Had this kid flying with me, and he was sitting there, and I had an aircraft there in the States. All the plexiglass was in all the windows. And the pilot said, we're going into kind of a tight zone here, so make sure we're clear aft there. Yes, sir. Well, I went back there, and I kicked the window in. And stuck my head out there. Yeah, you're clear. Well, that was a big thing to do. You didn't do that back in the States. So I got a big ass chewing for that. But it was just a reflex thing. You had an obstacle in your way, you moved that obstacle, and you did your job.
How about the last time?
The last time I flew, or the last time in Vietnam?
Either one or both.
About the last time I flew in Vietnam was some months after all these other things. I flew until, it was April or May, I quit flying. I had a hoist extract. A guy was wounded and we couldn't land to pick him up, and I was terrified of doing another hoist extract. Going in there, lost the intercom. The pilot could hear me, but I could not hear the pilots. And I was looking for any excuse and every excuse. I made him wave off. I wasn't going to do it. I just, wave off, get out of here. And he went up there and he said, Corporal Boyd, we are going to do this. And I think we went in there again, and I was cussing at him. I was frightened to death. I did not want to drop another Marine. And I think it was the third pass in there that I finally calmed down enough that I could do my job the right way, that he maintained that we're going to do this. Set that thing down there, pulled that guy up, got him in there. Oh, I'd have kissed him if I could have. Gave him a cigarette, patted him on the shoulder. You know, I was so glad to see that guy alive in my aircraft and the hell out of there without me doing any damage to him. That was about the last time I flew. After that, I thought, I don't think I can do this anymore. So that was the last one there. In the States, before I got out, I quit flying about 3 or 4 times after Vietnam, and I don't know why. I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it, kind of a thing. One of the last missions I flew in the States, I remember coming back from Yuma, Arizona. Boring ride. Ride there, you know, an hour and a half, ride back an hour and a half, sitting in the thing by yourself in the back, and asleep half the time. And I was sitting there like this, nodded off. I looked up, and the back of that helicopter was full of smoke, or what I perceived to be smoke. We'd busted a hydraulic line to the auxiliary power unit, but it was just a fine enough spray that it was smoke, and I don't know how high we were, but I yelled, fire, fire, into the intercom, and boy, he dropped that thing right now. And then I got back there and investigated a little bit, and after that, I think I was done for a while.
What was it like when you got back to the States after Vietnam?
Boring, just boring. I mean, honestly, I'm sorry. When I got back to the States from Vietnam, it was just, flying was boring. It was training missions, training young second lieutenants to become pilots, and I guess to a certain extent training crewmen too, but mostly I'm just sitting back there boring holes in the sky. It was boring riding. I tried to go back to Vietnam, signed a waiver to go back. It was just, over there I felt that we had really accomplished something. And I'm sure that every kid that ever goes to war feels that. But I felt that we saved lives, not just took lives, but I think a lot of Marines were alive and still are alive today because of the helicopters in Vietnam and the willingness of the pilots and the crewmen to go into harm's way and pull them out. But it was exciting over there. It was a hell of a rush. I flew 720 missions that I got credit for in 8 months, and I wouldn't. I'd still want to do them all. I enjoyed doing it. I didn't enjoy the ones that went south, you know, that turned sour, but that was the minority. Most of them were successful. So.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. I think that covered it.